Good evening. It's 5:30 on July 12th. Want to welcome everyone to our joint session with our school board members. Congratulations, Jody Carroll and Char Jewell, for your elections. We also have our superintendent of RSU 14, Chris Howell. Thank you all for coming. Kate, nice to see you again. What we're here to discuss tonight is the tuition program for folks who aren't going to the RSU, out of district. And we held a vote here in Raymond back in 2008. And have you seen the vote? Yeah. And the wording of it?
Yep.
So we're here to figure out how do we make that work, since that's what the town voted for. So I know it was the opinion of your council that you pay the full cost of whatever that tuition is. And that's not what the intent of the vote was at the time. So
I've actually got some handouts to walk through that I think might be helpful. And then
very good handout.
walk up these. Wow.
Sorry I didn't get dressed up.
Yes, I think I need a dozen copies, so I think I've got enough.
Nobody would have noticed the difference.
And I think Joe, what I tried to do is that when Sue and I talked, to try to pull together as much information, because I know there was also some questions about school choice in relation to the recent Supreme Court case.
Yep.
And how that will go ahead and impact. So I am familiar with the vote that the citizens, I'll wait for you guys to get your packets.
Everybody got it?
Yep.
Ready to go?
So I am familiar with the vote that Raymond residents took. I believe it was in May of 2008. Is that correct? Which was a specific vote to the then Raymond School Department about limiting tuition to what was then being paid for tuition for Wyndham High School.
Right.
When we became an RSU and we fell under statute for the RSU, a couple things happened. First of all, the Raymond School Department sunsetted on June 30 of 2009, and we became part of RSU 14 on July 1, 2009. So under that point, we would then fall under main statute for RSUs. And in talking to our attorney, and I understand there were some conversations, I think actually back in 2015, about the same topic with Don Davis and Sandy Prince about the amount overage on tuition. But my understanding at the time that the same piece of legislation, it's actually out of Title 20, and I've included the language for Title 20, which I think is third page in the little packet that I made for you. And this is specific under regional school units and under programming. And actually, if you go under subsection 1479, number 5, and I'm sorry about the size of the font. In a regional school unit where some but not all students are attending school pursuant to the section, the sending municipality is responsible for the additional expenses calculated in accordance with the subsection. For each secondary school student who attends a public school and other school administrative unit, sending municipality and regional school units responsible for an amount equal to the difference in tuition in cases. And then under B, for each secondary school student who attends a private school approved for tuition purposes, subject to previous chapter 219, sending municipality is responsible for an amount equal to the difference in tuition in cases where it exceeds the amount of the regional school unit's tuition rate. And just, I think, good for the public to know is that when it's referencing tuition here, so first of all, the state of Maine sets a tuition rate for Wyndham High School. And I believe right now the tuition rate, and I gave you the most current numbers in this packet. This is of last year. We've not received the state approved rates. But Wyndham High School, if I remember correctly, was just about 11.7.
11.76, yeah, 11.773.92.
And so for any public school where there's a difference in tuition between state-approved rates, then the town of Raymond is responsible for that small portion. In the case of a private school, so let's say for instance NYA, and I don't know what NYA's tuition is right now, I'm guessing probably 28,000. It's capped at a maximum tuition rate, which I think in this sheet that I have here is 12,480. So the difference between the 11,773 and the 12,480 is billed back to the town of Raymond for that difference. Parents are then responsible for the difference between the 28,000 and the 12,400. There on that. Also in the packets that I gave you the historical, what we've been operating on, because one thing I was surprised, and it's actually on the front page, and again, it's on a very, very small font, but gives you an idea of what the difference has been paying and what the actual has been. So if we go back to FY 2010, the difference at which the town of Raymond was paying was $47,142. For this past fiscal year, for 22 is not on here, for 21, the difference was $600. And so that amount in which the RSU bills the town up front, which is $25,000, there was a check sent back to the town for $24,400 for the amount that wasn't used under that. So under statute, that's how we've been operating, and just consultation with our school attorney, I guess the time that Raymond would have had to have put restrictions in would have been the time that we became an RSU in the original consolidation plan, and would have had to have been in the language for when the RSU was voted on by the citizens of Raymond.
Well, it was right around that time.
Which would have been November of 2008. I think the vote was for...
But, all right, so question on that. So if that wording was in there, that would mean then that the RSU would have handled that differential and billed back to parents, correct? If that's, because what I'm wondering here is whether we just have a definitional issue here, in that it's saying that the municipality is responsible for that differential. I'm not disputing that, because that's, the real question is, when it says municipality, does that mean the municipality cannot collect from the parent that differential? Because the municipality will still pay you, but we will collect the differential from the parent, and all we need is the accounting that says, here's the schools, here's the people, here's what we paid, here's that differential by students, so we have the wherewithal to be able to go back and bill back the parent for that differential. So we're still meeting the intent of the law, which says the municipality is paying, because the check's still got to come from here. We're just going to get a reimbursement from the parent.
My suggestion in that case would be to reach out to your legal counsel and see whether or not it's something that you can do as a town to be able to operate under that. I can't give you legal advice on that. I can
Well,
just...
is there any problem with getting the detail that says that student X had a differential of Y?
No, there's not any. I mean, the listing there, you can actually see the listing of what private schools were. I think last year the differential was $600.
Yeah, but in that case, we don't have it down to the individual, so we can't, if our legal counsel says yes, that's allowable, then we still need the breakdown that says, okay, for student A, we need to collect X from the parents, for student B, et cetera.
Yeah, and I just would suggest have your attorney take a look at Title 20 and that subsection and just see what their interpretation is of that.
But I was there for the consolidation. I know it was part of the discussion that there was a cap. It just never got put into the consolidation language.
Can I ask? So for clarification, you're saying right now, all right, say somebody goes to NYA, they pay $28,000, and Wyndham is just round off at $12,000. You know what I mean? So $11,000 because the state caps it at $12,000, correct? So do the parents know they have to cover that from the $12,000 to $28,000? So I guess the question is, if we had to have that voted on, we voted to have choice, to keep choice before we went into the RSU. We also voted to have the tuition covered by the people before we went into the RSU. So why is one accepted and one is not?
Because the tuition being covered is state statute. Parents having to make up the difference between the cost of the 12,400 and the 28,000 is in state statute. That's a responsibility of families to do that because the state's capping what their amount is.
Okay, so I guess I look back and you go right down to the word municipality is the town, and the town pays the bills. So to me, if we have that RSU and we have that, and it's something that the board would have to decide, it's not the RSUs. I know that. It's not the municipalities. Our obligation is what their rate is. It's our I guess, job then to bill the parents, whatever that difference is. But it doesn't sound like there's going to be much of a difference. Because,
Depending on the year, depending on which schools get, but then you can get into that, depending on what we get into phase B of this discussion, whether, if all of a sudden we have Chevrolet and things like that in the mix, then we're talking a whole different kettle of fish.
but isn't it still capped at 12,000 then?
There has not been, it's actually a
No.
great question, Ralph. There's not a tuition rate has not been set for Chevrolet.
Right.
My guess, just looking at it and the inflation factor, it's not going to be any greater than any of the other private schools that are presently there.
And I remember having that vote in the spring because the consolidation vote was going to be in the fall. And the question was, okay, do you still want choice if we go ahead with consolidation? So it's all clear that was the sequence. And,
Just not carried over.
well,
No, and I'll share with Don, and he can choose how he wants to share with you folks. But here is an opinion letter from our attorney back in June of 2015 to the town's attorney on this issue. And basically just saying the same thing, which is just pulling out section 1479 or 1478, section 5B, and just walking through some steps and some scenarios with
again,
that.
It still comes down, to some degree there, it comes down to perspective, because your lawyer was answering in regards to the RSU's obligation. What we're saying is, aside from that, the statute says the municipality is responsible, fine. But it doesn't say that the municipality cannot, there's nothing in there that I see that says the municipality cannot charge back the parent for that differential that we see. And that's really the issue. And if we get clarification on that says yes, that's perfectly fine, then it just comes down to can we get the data that says okay, parent X owes.
For whatever schools. I mean, I would just suggest going through legal counsel because nobody knows right now which way some of these things are going to land, so.
Yeah.
have we contacted Shawna?
We haven't.
Well, and I think, again, I know we all agree, it's not the RSUs. So what we would need back is from the RSU, is it broken down?
Right, which
Yeah.
Chris says he can get to us.
Right.
Then we just need the clarification from our counsel that says, that's,
Yep.
So that enhanced tuition, from what I remember on that consolidation bill, is like 10% higher. Is that what it is? It's somewhere around there. And I forget what they call it. Some
There's an
kind of
inflation factor that's put in there
Right.
for the amount, Joe, and it's the actual inflation factor is written in the statute, what
Right.
actually can go above. I think the other issue that was going on, which was clearly defined by our legal counsel, is that when consolidation was happening, the legislature was super busy writing all these statutes, and you had different groups writing different statutes, and there was a lot happening in a very short period of time.
I was there.
Yes. So chances are, as people then went back and started to unwind some of the items that were there, and where all those things landed. But this was one element of that. I did bring some information, which there's two pieces in your packet, which on the recent Supreme Court case, which Ralph actually gets your question with Chevrolet. First of all, in your packet, basically there's a placeholder that we'd received from DOE which said, at this point we don't have your information, hold on, which is in your packet, but fresh off the presses, this packet was posted to the DOE website today, which starts to provide a little bit more information. So a couple things to remember is that for students in RSU 14, anything to do with choice and being able to access dollars for other schools that have not yet been approved only applies to students who have choice. Students who reside in Wyndham have a school that's been designated to them. It's not a choice school. Now all of a sudden choice doesn't become a possibility. For school districts that have set contracts, so if Raymond had a set contract that basically said Wyndham High School is the sole place, the new choice law would not apply either. It's only those places where kids have universal choice. One thing that I did learn today, I did talk to the deputy commissioner just to get some clarification in preparation for this meeting, is that schools that wish to become to be listed on the state approved list have to go through a basic school approval process to be added to that list. And so until, whether it be Cheverus or Greater Portland Christian School, until one of those schools decides that they want to go through the process for basic approval, we can't approve tuition dollars going to those schools. And it's going to be up to those schools to decide whether or not it's in their best interest to be able to go through that process of attracting students with choice.
It's like opting in. Have you been approached, because somebody did ask me this question, it was a little while ago and I honestly forgot about it. When we join with the middle school, somebody says, well, technically Raymond doesn't have a middle school anymore. Does choice start at 5th grade? And I said, no, it starts at the high school. And they said, why? I said, because the town voted to go with the school. So you may be approached, with that.
Right.
Yeah.
And what was interesting, just kind of working through this process, is that in southern Maine, Raymond is actually one of the few towns that actually does have choice, because most schools in southern Maine have a dedicated high school or a place where they've got a contract in order to be able to send. So then the question of whether or not some of the privates are going to want to jump through all the DOE hoops in order to be able to access a couple students that may choose to come from Raymond or not. And you've got the historical data, I shouldn't say got, you have the historical data on your sheet there, and we had been hovering right around 27, 28 students exercising choice. Over the years, last year we had a larger group. We had 39 students exercise choice, with most of that increase actually kids going over to Grady Gloucester.
Yeah. So a lot of these are superintendent agreement type choice things?
No, all of these are their tuition choice.
Yeah.
What kids have, none of them are superintendent's agreements. And we go through I would say a rigorous process to make sure that people are actually residing in the town of Raymond. That it's just not somebody saying, I live in Raymond, I'd like to exercise choice. So we do go through a rigorous process for verifying residency. And
Must get fun with split families.
How did the guy in Poland out in the woods end up going to school in Raymond for years?
I don't know who you're referring to.
Well, we had somebody who was off on a dead-end road and claimed to be a Raymond resident. I guess he had been in Wyndham at some point, but I brought it to Sandy's attention, I guess, a few years ago, but he managed to get through almost to the end of the line with his kids. I think he had 3 kids. So it was a difficult situation, but he was geographically in Poland, claimed to be in Raymond.
Because his mailing address was right.
Gotcha.
And there's a whole hunk of gray.
And I had a hard time convincing him even to look at it, so when you said the rigorous piece, that's what caught my attention.
I can only speak the last 3 years.
Okay.
Gold Academy, I just found out where that was yesterday. That's pretty far out there.
Where's that?
Is it Gold Academy?
Gould.
Gould, yeah.
Do we have any idea of how many Raymond students go to secondary schools that aren't being tracked on this list?
This is everyone that we have as far as the tuition dollars, as far as kids that are then accessing privates that they don't let us know. I'm actually thinking, Teresa, where we worked on a project together for all the banners going up,
Yep.
not 85, but 302. And I think there were like 3 or 4 students that we
got, they reached out and like, well, it wasn't on our list. Sorry. Yeah, we're like, so we quick ordered. Yeah, there was maybe 4, maybe. Yeah, there was several. And yeah, that is a tricky one because we didn't know.
'Cause I mean, I'm friends with a family here in town that have 3 students going to Cheverus.
Yeah.
So that's just one family.
Yep.
So, and she already bugged me this week to find out when she can call the town hall and get her check for Cheverus, so.
So now you have the answer. She can't.
Oh, well, we had a guy here years ago who moved to Raymond just to send his kids to, I think it was
did.
NYA.
NYA, yeah.
And then they moved right after all the kids got through. Because think about it, you're getting $12,000 a year per kid, more than your taxes. Yeah, so.
So to answer your question, Char, as soon as Cheverus, we get indication that Cheverus is on the approved list, then we will gladly go through the same choice agreements that we do for everybody else, but
How long does it take them to get through the approved list?
I don't know.
I'm just wondering if it's a 1-year thing or if it's a, or if they can fast track it or.
I think, I did a quick scan, Rolf, and about a half hour before I came over. Looking at, most of it looks fairly easy, but then also whether or not you're going to agree to state certification requirements, whether or not you're going to agree to state testing, and some of those other elements. I think those are probably some larger decisions that some of those boards for those private schools are going to have to kind of walk through.
So they may not for those 3 kids. Wow, in time wow. Yeah.
But if they do it partway through the year, then we still process and.
Yeah, there's not as many as there used to be.
I'm surprised it's not lower though, to be honest.
I mean, NYA used to have 15, 20 kids a year going there in the past.
I mean, the other one that makes somewhat of sense is the Grey New Gloucester, because, you've got a good population that's sitting, that's
Right,
closer.
on that side.
On the other
It's
end.
5 minutes to there for.
No, and I think I've shared this with you before. We support kids with their choice, wherever they want to go. We'll support them in it, and try to help them out with that. On occasion we do have students that will come back to Wyndham High School and choose to do that after they've been somewhere else. But we'll support kids. And when I was high school principal, and I'd go meet with the Jordan Small kids and say, this is a spiel I'm talking for Wyndham High School, but if you're going elsewhere, any way we can help and support, we'll help you get there.
Any more questions on this subject?
No?
Can you give us an update on the middle school? Where are we?
Sure. So we are, the committee is down to 1 site for environmental testing purposes, and the reasoning behind it is the most current round of testing is close to $250,000 to go through. So at 61 Wyndham Center Road, SW Cole Engineering will be doing test bores. They've got 80 test bores planned. It's either 60 or 80 test bores planned sometime the end of July. That will give them some determination as far as what the soils are like, ledge, depth of bedrock. Joe, you would have been involved with, I remember correctly, with the high school building project and all the ledge that was found out back. And the added expense that was that. So we've asked them to do some extra due diligence for that particular property. In addition, we have been working with the Department of Education team on ed specs, so programming, and much like I think I shared with this group back in October, we're looking at a small neighborhood approach with small teams, try to make this building that's going to be larger feel as small as possible. As part of that process, which I've actually found quite fascinating, is for every employee, there's almost a square footage designated, and for every student. So if you have a classroom teacher for it, the state will support a classroom. If you don't currently have a classroom teacher, what's the plan? If you're going to add additional Spanish, what's your plan in order to be able to do that? So we're in that negotiation phase where we're working on what is actually going to be state supported for square footage and what will have to be local for the RSU. And with that factor, whatever we decide upon for that final number, you multiply that times 1.4, and that's the final square footage for the building, because that's then square footage for bathrooms, for custodial closets, for all those other pieces.
So the site is at the Rotary as you turn
Site
off?
currently is there.
Yep.
After all the environmental testing is done and U.S. Army Corps has had a chance to weigh in, Inland Fish and Wildlife have been notified. US Forest Service, I'm trying to think of the main version of the US Forest Service.
Maine
have-
Forest Service.
Maine Forest Service. For whether or not there's any species or botanical items of any special significance.
How much land is with
It's
it?
45 acres.
Okay.
The town of Wyndham has an additional 9 next door, which they've offered up to be able to use as part
So
of the
those
park.
horse stable areas, that's all part of it?
That's all part of it.
Yep.
And when you get out back, there's actually part of that land that you can't see because it goes up and then it crests. There's an entire equivalent of 2 soccer fields over the crest that is invisible. So they'll be working on those portions. And then once all this data's collected, there'll be some community forums, probably October, and a chance for the community to finally weigh in. Is this the final site that makes the most sense from a fiscal standpoint and from a programmatic, and then go through a straw poll process. At this point, whether or not we make a June referendum is still up in the air for the entire building. There's a good chance that it might be an early fall or the November election of next year for the entire referendum.
Is there a purchase price for the land?
Purchase price for the land's 1.5 million.
Not bad.
Currently being appraised. It's my understanding from speaking to the real estate agent that that property has become much more valuable over the last 2 years while it's been held in, or last year, since it's been held in an agreement.
Did you guys ever get it fixed with the lady that lives there with the pig that has her septic back there? I saw that video.
Yep, so
That pig, yeah.
that person, actually, that house that they're being discussed was a Habitat for Humanity house done by the town of Wyndham. That septic field is on the town of Wyndham property out back, where the town of Wyndham has what's a laydown pit where they, big pipes, things like that, they don't have space at Public Works. We've worked around that issue, and we're also looking at other egress points out to River Road and not using that space.
Do you know anything about the history of the site? What was there historically? I mean, has it always just been?
Yeah, the site was part of a larger site that belonged to the Pringle family that farmed it, and the Pringles owned the spot where there's the giant house up on the hill. They owned all of that land. In addition, they own the 17 acres, which is the nature preserve, which is next to that property. When they split off, it's always been used for farming. We've done some historical research into environmental. It was never an SD Warren dump site because there are farms in Wyndham where SD Warren dump sites were, much like in Raymond. There were spots where people were dumping septic and sludge and PFAS. Nobody knew about what
But
that was.
you'll be testing for that, though?
Yep. PFAS testing is part of the process for that. And
I'm no expert, but I'm not thinking ledge is going to be the problem. Looking at it, it looks like it might be lowland.
yeah, so there is, of the 45 acres, there's 29 that is fully developable without any, worry about any setbacks. And also, there's been some conversations with the nature preserve next door. They would actually like to partner on some outdoor environmental education spots there, because one thing they're struggling with is that you have the Pringle Reserve, which is a 17 acres. You've got the little bird stand on the corner, but nobody really accesses it, so looking to be able to do that.
So there are no vernal pools or anything like that?
No
on there?
vernal pools. Nope.
Interesting.
Nope, no vernal pools. There is wetland of special significance, which runs behind where the barn is, and that's been accounted for. I think something else that we've learned through the process is the state will pay for a baseball field, a softball field, and a couple multi-purpose fields. It looks like the local RSU will have to pay for any additional fields beyond that. If memory serves everyone, that actually had a soccer field, competition soccer field on that site that was then, that the family who owns it built for travel team use. And then they converted it to horse use later on, but there is all the underlayment, drainage, everything on it. I've been told significant investment was put into that field in order to be able to bring it up to, and it was labeled Mackenzie Field. So that may be an option to bring some additional community use for fields for not as much money as it would be to go ahead and develop a new one. So working through that process.
Any other questions?
On something different.
Okay.
So, you guys, I watch your meetings, and you guys do get hammered. You do get hammered. How is it, and I listened to Shar as far as you've got to work together with the teachers, the administration, and the parents. How can you guys find I guess, a better way instead of cutting people off at 3 minutes? Because they're there, they actually come to the meetings to talk. But I also know you've got to keep it a meeting schedule. You got to keep things moving forward. One of the things we do here is if you are attacking either an employee or a member, we cut it down, because no, that's behind the scenes that you have to handle that. But I know some of these people that have been coming out, and all of a sudden they're not being mean or anything, but that 3 minutes, if they're coming out, how do you get responses to them, I guess? And you're not the one that's setting it, Chris, either. But yeah, so I mean, you know what I mean. So you don't have the 3, but what do you do to hear people? They're coming out to the meetings, but we have the same situation too.
Yeah, I mean, we looked at what other area districts were doing for their public comment. They, most of them in Cumberland County do 3 minutes, some do 2. I think, you know, we are certainly responding to folks via email as well. If they're sending some emails, we have tried asking them to follow up with their public comment, their question through email, so that we can get a response to them. We changed some things around in our agenda where Chris does his superintendent's report right after public comment, so that there is something that he can address at that moment, then we can address it at that moment. We also moved our board roundtable up as well for that same reason, just to be able to try to appropriately and respectfully respond to that public comment. So,
And this is just putting it out for people that
Yeah.
are watching this, so that way, where if they see the meetings and are concerned about it, yeah.
I mean, I get it. You know, I've been on the school board long enough where we had nobody at our meetings,
Yes.
and you really want people to participate. However, our meetings go without public comment in there, can go until sometimes 10:30 at
Yep.
night. So I just think, out of the respect for the fact that all of, you know, besides Chris and Christine, we are all volunteering, and although you have to go to work the next morning much earlier than I do, but we just have to respect that. And I think we've tried to find the best way to appreciate the fact that the public are coming out, but also be respectful of all of our time.
Oh, no, I get it.
Yeah.
Been on the school board, been on the select board,
Yeah.
we so get it.
Yeah, it's hard.
So recently, we got an email from a member of the public who said, you know, instead of having 3 minutes per person, set aside a total amount of time allowable for public comment. And if there's only 3 people and you set aside, you know, 18 minutes, then each person gets 6 minutes, something like that. And I actually think that's more reasonable if you don't have a huge group of people, to have kind of like dual policies. If you have over X amount, then you got to cut it down to 2 or 3 minutes. But if you have under X amount, then you can go for a total of this much time. I actually prefer that. I thought it was a good idea.
How do you handle it if you have people that are?
We try and let people speak, and then if they continue to repeat themselves, we ask them to, okay, you said your piece.
Yeah.
Time for the next person to move on.
And we get it. I'm not
No,
criticizing,
it's
but
fair
no, I
question.
just watch these
No.
meetings and I go, oh, that
I mean,
one
the other-
ended bad, yeah.
And the other thing that'll happen is you'll get 2 or 3 people that essentially wanted to say the same thing. So
Yeah.
it looks like you're gonna have more, but then also, no, they've already asked, they've already
Yeah,
said this.
we've already heard this, you know, do you have anything else to add?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think the hard part is for folks to understand that we don't want to always cut people off. Even if it is something that may be critical of some of the work we're doing, we still need to hear what everyone has to say. And so it's, I hate when the timer goes off. I really do. And I think between Kate and
it's
me,
hard.
like,
It is.
we don't like doing that. However, we can't let one person go on and then say, you have to stop. We were going that route. We didn't have a policy in place for this. And then it did come to the point where we were like, okay, you know, we have to move on with our meeting. But then you feel really bad that one person who has decided to go up to stop them. So we've really just had to have
It's finding that happy medium.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
And you guys do say, you do say in your medium, please email with questions, please, do this type of thing. But yeah, no, I just watch the meetings and I'm thinking, God, I'm glad I'm not there. Oh yeah,
But, some people just need to vent.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And if it gets personal, we shut them off right
Yes.
away. But,
And if it's an employee or, I know you guys had some kind of survey that went out for a while and pretty much everybody that got up there was just repeating their things. But yeah, if someone comes in, we'll say, but we'll cut them right down if it's a matter, if it's repeating or,
you can tell when it's organized and they're all saying the same thing. Yeah, okay, we heard this.
yeah.
But, it's your meeting, you run them how you want.
No, I just was wondering how you,
That's fine. Great. Good question.
Oh, because I just thought, oh, that's got to be, and I know that they're angry, and you guys all have to sit there and keep that straight face too, and yeah.
Anything else?
No.
No? You have any questions for us? No? Well, we really appreciate you coming out tonight and answering our questions on this, and we're gonna have to have a discussion with Shauna and find out.
Actually, Shauna's no longer our attorney.
Oh, okay,
We're with Phil Saucier now.
all right.
Shauna's gone into bond work.
Oh,
So she's moved on up into Paul Frisco's spot.
okay,
Yeah.
So we'll talk to Phil. Phil's easy.
all right. So
So Phil,
you'll have a conversation with Phil.
yeah.
But if there's questions that come up, feel free to reach out.
Yep.
And if you need additional detail, feel free to reach out.
We appreciate you coming tonight. Thank you so much for.
Stay dry on the way.
I was just gonna say, maybe they want to talk about more why this thing passes.
Is it raining?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
thundering pretty bad too.
Oh, yeah, the thunder.
Yeah.
You can see the rain coming down.
Yeah. Good, my car's getting washed.
Wash the dust off the
Yeah.
car.
Living on a dirt road. Jeez.
I have
So
a
dry.
raincoat here and it's for sale.
For July 12th, we just had our workshop with the school committee, and thank you to the school committee members for coming over, and for Chris Howell, the superintendent, to come and answer our questions. That was very good, really helpful. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes on June 21st?
So moved.
Second.
Any corrections, discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. New business. Consideration and recommendation for possible approval of a warrant article for a special town meeting to consider funding for the Raymond Casco Historical Society. So there's a request that they are asking for $23,200 to get to that $25,000 level, since we gave them $1,800 in the last budget. So, Charisse, you were designated to find where we might find this money. And do you have an answer for us? Nope. Keep that green light on. There you go.
Yes, it would be from undesignated fund balance would be the most appropriate.
Okay. And do we have enough money in that fund?
Yes.
Okay, great. Any questions? So,
So
anyone from the public want to comment? David, anything?
isn't that for the public hearing? I can't hear you. Hold on.
Hold on a second.
Hold on, David, we can't hear you.
I'm sorry.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Much better.
Just a quick update. We moved the building to the site. We've got it completely moved off the former site, and the foundation is in. They were supposed to pour the pad today, but were held up because they were afraid of the rain.
I know.
But hopefully that'll be completed in the next week or so, and we'll start to put the building back together.
Great.
And anybody who'd like to come by and see it, we'd be happy to show you what's going on and what we're doing with it.
Okay, great. Thanks, David. Anybody else from the public? Okay.
Are we gonna run this by the budget finance?
Already
Since it
did.
was,
It has been.
It has been.
it has been?
They already, yeah. And they recommended approval?
Yes, unanimously.
Not paying attention.
All right, so now we need to hold a public hearing. Is that correct, Sue?
No,
No?
no, public hearing is the special town meeting.
Oh,
Well, you do need a public hearing as well.
yeah,
That's what's on the next after you decide whether you want to recommend this.
yeah. Can I have a motion?
Move to appropriate from undesignated fund balance a sum of $23,200 to help fund the moving restoration of the historic Raymond Town Watkins Blacksmith Shop circa 1820 to the Raymond Casco Historical Society campus.
With the money coming from undesignated fund balance.
Correct.
Second?
Moved and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Oh, okay, sorry, missed it. So there will be a public hearing on August 9th, 2022. What,
I think I worded that, I worded that incorrectly. The public hearing is for the warrant for the August 9th special town meeting.
Okay,
So, and that's what you just voted on. was
So we're having
the
the public
article
hearing
for the
tonight
warrant.
So,
and then approving the warrant for that meeting.
Yes.
so what we have to do is that, we have to approve the warrant for the meeting, then you
Right.
can have then you can have the public hearing.
Right.
So I move to approve for the special town meeting as presented in the document.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous?
So now you can have your public hearing.
Not getting very good internet reception right now.
Do you want?
All right, so we're gonna go into a public hearing.
You need a motion to go into the public hearing?
I don't think you do. I think I can just call it. So we're in a special, a public hearing for the town meeting warrant for August 9th. Any comments from the public? Seeing none, I will call an end to the public hearing.
Sue, do you see anything online?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we usually close, make a motion to close the public hearing.
Yeah.
Chair can close it.
Chair can close it on its own.
You guys always made me do a motion.
I know, but we didn't trust you.
Finally came out.
So we're all set for August 9th. Okay, so we'll start August 9th with the special town meeting and then go from there. All right,
Special town meeting will be at 6.
6 o'clock. Yep,
And Dawn has the,
Yeah, the warrant
Teresa
on it.
has it.
Teresa,
the sign. You
Yeah.
can sign it now.
I already do.
Okay.
You didn't trust
So
me.
David, you all set? August
very
9th,
much.
August 9th, 6 o'clock.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, David. Keep up the good work.
Thanks for all your support.
Thank you. All right, new business. Consideration of renewal of the liquor license for the Beacon.
you have in your packet their application and the fire inspection.
And I think,
Wasn't anything outstanding on the
Right.
inspection.
yeah, I think I saw the fire inspection was good.
I have a motion to approve the renewal.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Next, consideration of a liquor license extension. I have a motion to table.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Table till next meeting. Consideration of lease purchase agreement for a new rescue pumper truck. So,
Take it away.
take it away.
Okay. So, for the public, the town meeting had a warrant article to borrow up to $500,000 for 10 years. The budgeted payment was $58,000 $58,064. So, as anticipated, interest rates have gone up, and shortly after town meeting, I reached out to 2 lenders, and at the time the budget was prepared, the interest rate was 2.85%. My proposals came in at 4.07 and 4%.
Nothing on this.
And, but I have been able to secure something a little bit lower, 3.97, with the bank that we actually do primarily our business with. So our interest rate is 3.97%, keeping the payment at $58,064 annually for 10 years, but that means that we can only borrow $489,250.
And what was the price for the pumper?
I will defer to Chief Tupper.
So, originally, things have changed. We were in the $750,000 range. We are right now in the 780 to 795 range. And we are meeting with vendors and working out finance options, discounts, cutting equipment, things like that, so that we can make this fit within our budget.
How much do you have in your CIP?
I have to defer back to Charisse for the exact amount.
I mean, is that how you're covering the difference?
Yes, yes, that was what it was. I don't know the exact amount off the top of my head though, but yes. That was what we were planning on.
To cover the overage on the 450.
489.
Yes.
So
it's another 300,000. So,
Yeah.
and I don't know how much is in that CIP account. It's got to be fairly close.
It is fairly close.
Yeah. So, are we going to go through this again next year, or
For a big,
for any
like
equipment?
a pumper, no. The next piece that we have is an ambulance, and then we're trying to, we're putting the right money into the right stuff on the tanker, the other tanker, the old one, to keep it going. It's not used heavily anymore. It's kind of in the backup spot up here. The other tanker became our primary. It still is used, it's still a vital piece of equipment, but so that would be the order. It would be rescue next and then that tank afterwards. The goal with this is we're actually eliminating 2 pieces of equipment by purchasing the one. So we get rid of the heavy rescue truck and the mini pumper.
Are we selling those?
And we'll be selling those, yes. So there's a potential coverage, I guess, of the overages by doing that.
Okay.
We're not 100% sure how much we're gonna be able to get for them. The market's really
All over the
squishy.
place, yeah.
It is, it's up, down, it's everywhere. And, you gotta hit the right person, the right time in order to make the money off from it, so. I would anticipate that we'd be somewhere in the 45,000 top end on the heavy rescue, realistically, 35.
Yeah.
The mini pumper, depends on who wants it. You could get maybe
At its
15.
age, and,
Yeah,
you know, given what it is, it's gonna be a very small department with not great resources.
correct. Or someone wants to make it to a dump truck.
That's probably more likely.
And it is more likely, I think, on that.
And if you're going that route, it isn't a lot of money. Under 10.
Under 10, yeah. Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at with those and what we speculate. We may be on the high end, but we'll keep our fingers crossed. We will try and do our best to get the higher numbers. So.
Yeah.
But then you never know, like the old forestry truck, you find somebody who wants to put it in a museum, and
Correct.
you never know.
We get out of that what we paid, right?
A lot more, yeah.
Or more, yeah, more than what we paid. So.
Yeah. I'm just,
great.
you know, the fire department and this equipment is becoming a huge part of the town budget.
It is.
And, you know, I just think we need a really good plan going forward. What's the cycle? How much are we putting aside into the CIP every year? You know, because these leases are, I mean, we're paying an extra $90,000 in interest over the 10 years.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, and I would agree that the CIP planning to kick that back into place. We've been in a good place for a while, prices were contained, and we were able to negotiate good deals on both sides of things, and now it's just, that's ending, so.
Yeah.
And like I said, one of those price jumps was only 6%, we know we're at like 8%. it's only a matter of time
Yeah.
before they kick in 2 or 3 more % to make up the difference. And then we're way over, so.
Any other questions for Bruce?
No, other than just assuring to set the schedule so we can
Yeah.
prepare
Plan.
better
You gotta
instead of
plan
having to
for it.
borrow. and-
Right.
I mean, sometimes borrowing makes sense, but
Yeah, but when you're borrowing at 4%,
Right.
that's
Right.
Oh,
starting to
not
get
an extra
expensive.
100.
Right.
Well, we
Isn't
went out,
right.
when we went out with Big Bond last time, we were,
Right.
we
keep
bonded
back
ourselves,
animals.
and we were
Can you
at
do better?
2%, 1.9.
You did
I
that.
would
know
say,
you
I would
did.
say
So-
one of the
such
problems
a-
here,
such a
one of the problems
hot
here
shot.
with a municipal corporation is you have basically, you know, an annual decision-making process, and you're in an economy
Right.
where it's a, you know, very, I think unstable, unpredictable, chaotic situation. Timing's everything. You know, we couldn't take advantage of when the rates were good and the price of equipment's just been going steadily right up anyway.
Yeah.
And now with the shortage of electronics and chips and all this other jazz, whatever the reasoning is.
Would
And
you-
I don't know if
yeah.
all of that is justified or if it's something that's happening due to the ability they can make it happen. So you're seeing everything, whether it's fire equipment, public works equipment, all municipal goods and services, all goods and services in general are going up.
Would you have been able to lock the earlier price had we gone in with an approved deposit on that?
The deposit would have got some of it, correct. It wouldn't have gotten all of
Or,
it.
you know, with an option, you know?
Yeah.
Because what I'm looking at there is, you know, all of a sudden, you know, we have, you know, we got 30, 40,000 extra. If we had put 10K up front to lock it, we'd be ahead of the game right now.
I'm just trying to remember, I've been reading specs for the last 2 days here. One vendor, for example, if we paid 50% of the vehicle, was like a $15,000 discount. And that was when we started for budget purposes. Put that back 4 or 5 months ago anyways.
You know,
That's the amount we were at with one. The last apparatus we bought was a Pierce, and we paid, oh my God, I think we paid like 75% up front, and we saved 28,000 right off the top.
Right, but in order to do that in our environment, you have to have the approvals.
You have to have the approvals first.
Right, but if you know, if we did it from the standpoint of authorizing the earnest money deposit,
Yes.
all you're at risk is that. And if it's
And
going
that
to
it'd be
save you.
refundable.
Yeah, it may be, some may be non-refundable, but essentially you're
Locking it in.
you're locking it in, and so, you know, at the end of the day, for spending that little bit up front, you're saving more than that on the back end. So I mean, as we look, as we get, as I say, the last big one we did, we self-bonded, and we were what was it, 1.7, 1.9, something like that, but as those rates come up, which they're going to, because if then we have to look at different options, down the road until things go the other way.
Anything else?
No, sir.
All right.
Okay,
Got the
I'll
motion?
make a motion that the capital acquisition project, consisting of the lease of a new rescue pumper truck is hereby approved, and that the financing for the project in the principal amount of $489,250 is awarded to Androscoggin Bank at an interest rate of 3.97%, and that the treasurer and the chair of the Board of Selectmen are hereby authorized, acting jointly or individually, to execute the lease purchase agreement and all other documents reasonably necessary to accomplish the purchase of this vote as the documents may require, and that the said lease is hereby designated as a bank qualified tax exempt obligation of the town for the 2022 calendar year under the provisions of section 265B3 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended.
Wow, second.
Want to try reading that too?
No.
All right.
No.
Moved and second, any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? All right. We'll sign away here. Consideration of appointing Bob Jones
This one's a no-brainer.
to the Budget Finance Committee.
Move to appoint Bob Jones to the Budget Finance Committee.
Second.
Yes,
All those in favor? Unanimous?
yes.
Consideration of issuing a quick claim deed. Could I have a motion?
I have it here. I make a motion to Approve a quitclaim deed without covenant for Robert F. Murray, map 78, lot 12, book 32517, page 141, book 35064, page 323, book 38,553, page 34, book 33,359, page 7, book 35,913, page 109, book 34,141, page 71, book 37,079, page 311.
Second.
All those in favor? Unanimous.
So,
Any public comment? Anyone on Zoom want to make a comment?
do I need to sign that one? Are you doing that? Good. Oh, here's another one.
Don't get me confused, I'm in the middle here.
That's not
All
what I
right,
like to do.
seeing no public comment, any selectmen comment? All right, town manager's report?
Yes, thank you. So I want to start off with talking about the Main Street sidewalk. If you've been down in that area, you know that it's well underway. So Nathan tells me, and I've been down to check on progress periodically myself, that everything is going as planned. We're on schedule. The drainage work should have finished today. By next week, we should have all of the finished grading done and the binder pavement down. So things are moving along. It is an inconvenience, a difficulty for people in the area, for travelers. We have got some complaints, but we're doing the best we can to mitigate the situation. And, you know, it'll be, I think, a really great improvement when it's completed. I want to take a moment to recognize and thank Everett Shep Stultz, who was a member of our Public Works crew for 20 years. We had a very nice retirement party the other night. Selectman Sadak was there, a number of the town employees were there, and to thank him for his years of service and dedication to the town. He'll be missed by the Public Works Department and by our employee family, town family. So a job well done, Shep, if you're watching. So I guess the thing that's most top of mind for me is summer's in full swing, and that changes the town dramatically. You know, we increase population-wise by 3 or 4-fold, and all that entails. And so everybody's busy. I don't care which municipal department you talk about. It's a greatly different environment, and it seems like, you know, over the 20-plus years I've been here, each and every year it seems to be increasing and be, you know, just more of an impact. But I want to thank our employees who step up and meet the needs of the citizens and the different challenges that we have. It seems like there's been an awful lot of public safety calls, by the way, serious public safety calls, not only automobile accidents, but fires and mutual aid fires. And so I want to thank, you know, Bruce is here tonight, thank him for that. And, you know, I know we depend on other towns, and thankfully they're there for us as well. So there's a lot going on there. This is one Teresa will like. The recreation bus is being lettered. It went off to the bottom.
I hope bright yellow.
I don't.
When you see that bus go down the road.
I don't know if the rec director's watching, but I said, let's get a nice shade of aqua, blue, green or something. So anyway, the bus is going to have sort of a wave effect that
Like waves at the bottom.
Kirsten Sudbury, who is the code office administrative assistant, has a graphic arts background, and she came up with a layout. I've looked at it. I think Teresa's looked at it, and I think it's going to help with the color issue that we have now.
No prison bus.
And the yellow stripe will be disappearing. So as long as we're on recreation, we're going to have a family fun festival again coming up at Tasseltop. This is a program that's sponsored by Raymond Rec in cooperation with Wyndham Rec and the Be the Influence Coalition. And so that'll be on August 18th at Tasseltop, and there'll be a movie at the end after, lots of fun activities for families, young people. So, you know, please put that on your calendar. Raymond Rec Soccer and the new running club, which is started in Raymond under Raymond Rec, is taking registrations. Those are open. So now we have confirmed dates for the upcoming regular meetings, although August 9th will be a regular meeting and a special town meeting, and then we have September 13th. That's what I have.
Can I add something?
Sure.
On Raymond Rec and Parks, for people out there, please check out the Facebook page of the Raymond Parks and Recreation. Thanks to the pickleball volunteers, there is now their first ever outdoor pickleball court at Sherry Gagnon Memorial Park.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, on the basketball. I saw it
Nice.
earlier today. They said, please leave the tape on the court surface, first come, first serve, but please don't go over an hour if people are waiting to play basketball or pickleball. And as Dawn said, there is all kinds of things that are open for registrations. There's a lot of information on here. So please check out Raymond Parks and Recreation.
And the bus, although it's not lettered yet, it has been used, and so as long as we're thanking folks, we got a good bus from the RSU, so thank you RSU 14 for the donated bus.
Just a reminder that that August 9th meeting will be at 6 p.m. will be the start for the special town meeting.
And may I make a bit of a public service announcement?
Sure.
The state has sent out postcards to anyone who hasn't voted in the last couple of general elections to verify their addresses. We've gotten a number of calls from people concerned that there's some kind of a push of junk mail, something, but it's the state just trying to confirm whether or not people are still living there. So if anyone has any questions, they're welcome to call the town office and we can explain that to them.
And while we're at it, I'd like to get Kurt LaBelle on the next meeting to discuss this new tax relief program for people over 65. Some of us may qualify. So we got to figure out how this is all going to work. It really sounds like we're going to be relying on state money to fill that gap. And who knows, as soon as they run out of money, that program's gone.
If you, well. yes.
Or you're left holding the bag.
Or
Yes,
you're left holding
yes,
the
and
bag,
no.
yes.
The way I read the
I didn't read it.
LD 290 yesterday, when I saw an article on that. And if you read the financial attachment to it, they've got projected in there over $7 million. Their fund, and there's 351,000
For
a
the
year.
first year.
There's 351,000 to add a new 1.5 employees to
Yeah.
administer it. So, but the real question becomes, and it's undefined in there, is how quickly the town gets paid back
Yeah.
on that difference. And the looks are, it could be anywhere from a couple months to a year.
Yeah. It's going to be a mess. So we can get Kurt LaBelle here on the next meeting, too, because it opens up August 8th, I believe,
Oh, which is right here.
which is,
Our meeting is
our meeting's on the 9th. So Kurt should have all the answers by then, right?
And not only that, but a person has to apply for it each
Every year.
It doesn't carry over year to year.
Yeah, and it's 65 and over, and no income. I mean, so anyone can apply for it. So, anyway. All right. Anything else on our regular meeting?
All right, you want a motion?
I need a motion to go into executive session.
Go ahead.
Okay, move to go into executive session to discuss land use violations pursuant to 1 MRSA 405-6A.
Second.
All those in favor? All right, we're in executive session.
Out of executive session.
Second.
All in favor? Unanimous?
Move to allow the planning, or the code to move to enforcement action on the land discussed.
Second.
All in favor? Unanimous? Thank you.
Make a motion to go into executive session, consideration of town manager's annual review pursuant to 1 MRSA, section 405-6A.
Second.
All in favor? Can I have a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Unanimous?
Move to amend the town manager's contract as discussed in executive session.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.
Move
Motion.
to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.